got the meeting, but I don't have
Okay,
the minutes. If you could send those, that would be great.
I will do it. It really is just a summary. It's what we did for those first two meetings is because we're recording on Zoom. We are posting the Zoom recordings, and we are doing kind of what I had done for those first two meetings was pretty much an outline of the discussion, but it wasn't a lot of detail. So I don't think there's a lot of harm in just approving the minutes, because you're not going to see a ton of stuff there because all the detail is in the Zoom.
Okay.
Well, I agree with that, and I read the minutes, and they're perfectly straightforward, so I don't see.
Okay.
Okay, we have some people coming in, so just hang on a second here. We'll do some introductions because we've got, I want to introduce y'all to Danica. So,
We've got Megan in her car.
yep, okay. And I know Pelagia has joined us as a member of the community. I would like to, James, I know we're in the middle of, I'm hijacking the agenda for a minute. I want to introduce Danica Malone to the group. Danica has joined us as the town planner last week. And she's joining our call this morning. So welcome, Danica.
Welcome.
Is your audio on? Let me check. Let's see if I can. She seems to have popped off. So hang on. We're just technical fun.
Hold her till Danica comes back. That's better anyway. We can see everybody.
Okay.
Oh.
All right. So we'll have to wait for her to come back on, James. Go on back to the minutes. Sorry. Oh, here she comes. Hold on.
We should,
all right.
We should mute ourselves here.
I'm going to mute Eugene. I got it. Okay.
Could we get her name again? Because is it Jessica?
Her name is Danica, D-A-N-I-C-A Malone. And she's trying to connect to us. We can see this.
So she's now the other half of the work, huh?
She is. She's the other half of Pete.
Of Pete's work, right.
Yeah. And as soon as we get her audio working, we can, she's saying her audio is still not working, so that's all right. So if you want to go ahead with the minutes, James, getting those approved, and then we'll pop back in.
Who's on the phone?
Pelagia, I think.
Is that Pelagia? Can you hear us, Pelagia?
Let me unmute you. Pelagia, is that you? 924-4397. Let's see. Who's on the call that is a 924-4397? And that might be Danica trying to.
Jerry Gallus?
Jerry, welcome.
Hello, Jerry.
My mute button is working backwards.
Thank you, Jerry.
When it's lit, I'm on. When it's not, whatever.
All right, and I think that Danica, can you hear us now?
I can. Sorry about that.
Yeah, we can see you.
I know.
And we can see you.
Welcome aboard. Okay, now I'll go back to the minutes. All those in, well, who's going to motion for the 4th? Minutes of the 4th.
Let me just make sure everybody is on here that can hear. All right, good. Great. Okay, so we have a motion to approve the minutes of the 4th and a second from Laura.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passed. Okay, then we have the 18th, minutes of the 18th. Motion?
I move to accept.
Second?
Did you second?
I'll second. Can I second?
You can, sure.
Oh, okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
There's just an abstain because I was not on the call. That's all.
Thank you, Jerry. Okay, Pelagia is joining us. She must have gotten popped off too. Okay, so
Okay.
before we go further, James, so this is Danica introducing her to you, our new town planner. And James, I wonder if I could indulge you in just asking the group to introduce themselves so that Danica knows who's who on the call.
Yes, please.
Okay, Laura, why don't you go first?
Hi, Danica. My name's Laura Jimgrass. I work at Monadnock Community Hospital and looking forward to working with you. Welcome. The area I work at the hospital, I work in philanthropy and community relations.
Awesome.
Jamie?
Danica, welcome to the group. I'm Jamie Conley, and I work at Rivermead as the CFO.
Great. Bill?
Awesome. Thank you.
I'm Bill Kennedy. I'm Jean Deitch's husband. You'll meet her in a moment. That's anyway, you'll see her. The only other role that I play, the other role that I play for the EDA is chairman of the Greater Downtown TIF Advisory Committee. So we'll
cool.
probably
Okay.
be working with you directly on that.
Thank you.
Great.
Jean, we'll have you go next so you don't crash.
Yes. Okay. So,
yeah.
Yes, I'm Jean Deitch. Great to meet you, Danica. Let's see, I'm the center here and I'm a member of the EDA.
And that's her son, Ethan, in the car with her.
Hello.
Hi.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Megan?
Yeah, that's sweet.
My name's Megan Swacco, and I am a retailer in Depot Square. I own a little store called Dogs on Depot. I'm new to the EDA. I've joined in January, and I'm also on the marketing committee for the EDA.
Thank
Awesome. Cool.
Jerry?
Hi, it's Jerry Gallus, just a retired old guy who happens to be the chair of the West Pete and the South Pete TIFs.
Awesome. Okay. Very nice.
And Jerry also works with the large employers in our
Yes.
area as well. James?
James Kelly, am I chairman? Is that my title?
You are?
Chairman of the EDA, but on a number of boards and committees as part of my retired life. Yeah.
Great.
Awesome. Okay.
And listening in is from the public is Pelagia Vincent. Pelagia, want to introduce yourself? Okay. We're not getting audio, so we'll come back. All right, great. So James, onward.
Okay. All right, we'll go to the first agenda item.
James,
And
did you want to engage Jean in the discussion that's actually the last item on the list, but since she's on her way to Bedford to talk about the Broadband Initiative?
Let's do that. Let's start at the last agenda item, which is the Broadband Initiative. So Jean, can you speak to that briefly?
You're muted.
I'm muted?
She
No,
is.
Jean is.
Hold on. Hold on. There you
Okay,
go.
there we go. So I was hoping, I know that the town is in the process of putting together an RFP for broadband in the town. And what I was hoping is that we could support the select board in their doing that, because right now, you know, it's up to one select person, and this is a very complicated process. And typically, a town will have one person who's the key person, you know, and that's Bill Taylor for the select board. But if we could put together a committee to support him and take a look at what Dublin and maybe Harrisville or some other towns have done, but Dublin in particular, because there's a woman named Carol Monroe who a lot of you
I know
know.
her, actually.
Okay, so then you know how much Carol knows about broadband in New Hampshire and Vermont, and she she was part of the group that put together FirstNet way back when. She's been the president of EC Fiber that brought broadband to a lot of rural Vermont. She's helped me on the telecommunications district bill, and she lives right next door in Dublin, and she helped put together their RFP. So what I think the committee could do to help out Bill would be to, and I can help them get a copy of the RFP and just help support him with technical details. And you know, we could get, I had recommended that we get Tom Strickland and Ray Cote on it. So we've got some people with technical knowledge. And so that's my recommendation.
Okay, yeah. Let me see what I can do on that.
Good. All right, Danica, and I know that the reason that Bill kind of became the point person on that for the select board is that initially, so Jean, you had done a ton of work, and then in my role on the Selectmen's Advisory Committee to the Board of Ed, all the 9 towns were having this conversation together, right? About
Yes.
how do we work together to leverage our collective power to negotiate to get broadband in our towns. And we had some meetings, and we had providers come and speak with us. And out of that, Bill got kind of energized to kind of take it from me, because it's not my expertise. And he started running with the ball. And so he's had several meetings. And so I think the bringing together, you know, of the approaches, because he's trying to kind of work creatively around things. And I know the RFP process has been what the towns have been doing. So I think, Danica, we could kind of connect some dots and coordinate on what's been done and have the one conversation to see how we can make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm sorry, who's going to connect the dots with Bill?
Danica?
Yep.
Okay, Danica.
And me.
And so we're not going to form a committee. You'll take exploration with Bill?
I think what we'll do is we can have a conversation and then circle back to the group if we want to engage the help of the EDA.
Yep.
Okay, is there anybody who would, on the committee, who would be interested in getting involved in question around broadband? And I
Well,
guess,
can we reference back to Jean on that?
say it again?
Jean, can we come back to you with questions?
Sure. I'd rather not be the liaison to the committee.
I don't think you need to be.
I always volunteer Bill for all the.
No.
Oh boy.
He knows so much about so much. But I think that Tom and Ray have been supporting me as a state legislator, when I have a bill, and they're the ones who, write letters or come to Concord and help make something happen. So I think they probably both would be interested in helping out with this. And as I say, I think Carol Monroe, though she would not be on the committee, would be willing to answer questions or have a phone call or whatever.
Well, I'm wondering if we need a committee, I guess is what I'm saying. And maybe that when Danica and I can have a conversation, we can hit get to the people that you're mentioning and have conversation also. So it's not a committee per se of EDA, but rather the work that's being done at the town level.
Oh, well, I think that's fine. I think the very first step needs to be getting a copy of the Dublin.
Yeah, and I think that's something, now that we have Danica in the job of town planner, that we can engage her in helping us with that.
So you and Danica can follow up with that, and we'll check in our next meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And since I am a Dublin, oh, sorry.
Go ahead,
Megan.
Oh, I'm a Dublin resident, so I know a little bit at the townwide what our vote consisted of. And I have some concerns because Verizon services Peterborough. I know that Consolidated Communications, which is who we're going with for the community-wide fiber installation.
Verizon is our cell provider. Verizon
Okay.
is our cell provider, and CCI is our wired landline
Okay.
provider.
Okay. So if they already have a good case in the community, I would imagine that it would just be similar to what we did, because they're looking for rural communities to kind of fund this. I mean, we're getting a loan basically. Dublin has a 25-year loan to install the fiber throughout the town.
It's different. What's different here is that we have about 80% coverage or 90% coverage, and where we're not covered is kind of like the outlying areas that connect us to the other towns, right? So
Yeah.
So this is what I think it's important to understand. So the landline, most of the landlines, with a very few exceptions, are 25 up and 25 down and 2 up. This does not qualify as broadband. So the landlines that are not covered by Comcast are not considered served. So we're actually only 60% served. So only what we have from Comcast qualifies as broadband. And so we have a bill that's part of our omnibus telecommunications bill in the Senate that we're fast tracking. And one of the things that will do is to say that if providers do not respond to an RFP, then their area, their coverage area, is considered unserved. And once you're considered unserved, that means that you qualify for all kinds of federal grants and all kinds of different monies that you don't ordinarily qualify if you're served. So Comcast has not been responding to any RFPs because they do not want to extend their coverage area. They're moving, I think, probably to 5G or something else, a new technology. So they have not been responding. So if that were the case, if we put out an RFP and they don't respond, after that bill passes, then that would mean we are something like 95% or more unserved. And the only thing that would be served are the people who have a direct fiber connection, the businesses who have a direct fiber, like the school and so forth. And then a very few CCI customers who have this kind of new double-threaded technology. So anyway, we would be almost all unserved at that point.
okay, so a lot of technical stuff in the weeds, like that.
Well,
Take it on.
it's very important to granting the fact that we would be almost totally unserved.
Get it.
Bill, your turn.
I consider the broadband issue to be a very vital issue to the Economic Development Authority. And I strongly advise that the EDA be involved in this RFP process, not just simply hand it over to the select board or to the administration. I think we should be in an advisory position. For instance, I think Tom and Ray should be reporting to the EDA directly as well. That's my opinion of the situation.
But Tom and Ray have no official role or connection to the EDA. How is that?
They can be members of a subcommittee, just like Drum is members of the marketing committee.
Okay, so what are we going to do on that, Karen?
So
What do other people feel about that? You have other members.
My
that can
proposal
weigh
to
in.
the EDA is to extend Gene's proposal, and that is that we form a broadband committee like we had in the past, and then what goes beyond that is Tom and Ray participating in that.
Okay, Karen, response?
I don't have a response. Who's gonna take it on?
I will be happy to be the liaison. I don't want to actually, be the fellow out front, you might say. but I certainly would be happy to be the member of that committee who
Okay.
is therefore also the liaison to the EDA.
Okay. Great.
Is that?
I'm curious what Danica's thoughts are.
I think that me and Karen should probably discuss how we want to lay out finding representatives for a committee if we were to take that route.
Well,
I imagine that there's.
Sorry.
No,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead.
Well, this is an EDA committee. It's not an administration committee.
Sure.
What I would say is that in the other towns where the RFPs have been put together, it had to come from administration. So it's.
Well, I understand that.
Right. So,
Right.
so the question really is, before we form a committee, what we really need to do is figure out how far along are we already, because there's been some discussion here. And things may already be in the works. So without knowing that, I'm kind of hesitant to form a committee and get a committee started if we're already down the road. So I would like to have an opportunity to figure out where are we before we take that next step. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
I agree that this is but I also agree we need some more information so we can decide what to do. It'd be good to know, like you said, where the town is, as well as like, has anyone else solved this problem or solved it? If they solved it well, if they solved it poorly, and maybe we could get some ideas. So when we do an RFP, we can know exactly what we're asking for. Because I think it is, crucial. There's a big difference with people that can access the internet and people that are off on their own space, especially with I know it's not economic per se, but remote learning that all the kids are doing, and then people working from home. I think we're going to tackle an issue. This is a pretty significant one for our town.
Jean, were you trying to come in?
Yeah. I mean, I think Jamie's absolutely right, of course, and I agree with Karen that we need to find out where the situation is at. But I would also make 2 points, and one is that I think we need some urgency. I don't know exactly when the money's coming, but I do think there's money coming. And I do know that in the past, when money has become available, it's the people who have what you call a shovel-ready project who get the money, the people who are ready to go, who don't have to do all the legwork of going to get RFPs and so forth. So, and then my second point is that I think that there's been a lack of transparency that is typical in all the other situations I've ever seen, is that the town is involved. And if we're going to have to bring the town on board to vote for anything, it so makes sense to bring them on board early. So those are my 2 concerns.
So when you're speaking about transparency, Jean, you're saying it's not a public issue yet. It's like we're not talking about it in public. Is that what you mean?
So I'll just talk about what the other towns do. So when the other towns had their committees, there was a call for people to become involved and to get on the telecommunications committee, and there were people complaining. We've got a huge file. I forwarded to EDA members, or at least some of you. I forwarded to some of you the letter that we have that's signed by a dozen people screaming for better. And one person said she couldn't get a job with SoClean because she didn't have a decent connection. And she said she could easily get 20 households to sign this letter, but she only had 12. So I think, we've got the public outcry that says we want to be engaged, and I think that we need to be responsive to that and to say we're working on the problem, and
You're breaking up, Jean.
process that we're going through, and make people aware that that's going on, and so that later we can do it.
Okay.
In terms of the sequence of this, if we're not meeting again for a month, do we need to do something faster than that on this subject, Jean? or Karen, or are we going to leave this until our next meeting?
No, I think Danica and I can meet and we can find out what's happening in the meantime, right? And we can circulate that information to the group, and then see what we need to do officially in the next meeting. But I think we'll be able to do our work between now and then.
Well, is the RFP process flying faster than that?
I don't think so, James. I don't think so.
Jean?
I'm not, but we don't know yet.
Jean, any thought on that, on timing?
As I say, I don't know when the money's going to be available. I just know that the more ready we are, the more likely we are to get some.
Right.
I suspect.
Okay. We'll hop on it. We'll get to work on it.
Okay. Well, we got to hop off because we're now halfway through our timing.
Let's go. Keep going.
I go back to Bill now and Megan. I think you've got a fabulous document that's come from the ledger. So let's pick up on the marketing comm update on drum contract and the ledger. Which one of you want to pick it up, Bill or Megan?
I'll pick it up. Megan and I have been negotiating with the Monadnock Ledger, as you see from that document, to extend the wonderful idea that Karen had of a tag called Our Town Together, in which we're looking inward a little bit to the town during this COVID-19 pandemic, choosing, having nominations of those people who are greatly contributing to the community and highlighting them in our social media campaign. And we sought to enjoin the Monadnock Ledger in that effort, and they jumped right on it. Gave us a wonderful proposal in which they're sharing the costs, the overall costs for the campaign, and participating beautifully with their own social media as well as in the print. And this will allow us to broadly, to broaden our reach in terms of our message. So I strongly support this. I don't know if you've all had an opportunity to read the document as it currently stands, but we vetted it with our collaborators in Drum, and they're all on board for this. In fact, they're kind of excited about it. And there we are. I don't know, do I need to get into any of the specifics? Anybody want to see specifics?
Do we need to approve an expenditure for both Drum and Ledger?
No, just, we'll come to the Drum problem next. But what I'd like to do is to move that we accept the proposal from the Monadnock Ledger for a total of $1,735 to come out of the EDA budget to participate in this Our Town Together program.
It will come out of the marketing budget.
I guess.
Yeah, so that out of that pile of money.
We have 19,000 in that, more or less.
Something like that.
So are you moving that bill that we approve the 1735 for Ledger?
I move that we do.
I second.
A second from Megan. Thank you.
I
Megan.
second.
Any discussion of this from anybody else? I must say I read the document as well as looking at our notes from our last meeting, and I think this is an excellent step to take to actually increase the connection we have into the community rather than relying only on more virtual connection. I think getting to the Ledger is a great idea. So any other discussion of this from anybody else?
I also, James, I think this is really a lot of value for the money, so I'm definitely supportive.
Okay, any other comments? If so, I would ask for a vote on the motion made and seconded by Megan and Bill. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, you can.
Approved.
All right, I will notify Heather right after the meeting here, and we can move forward. We're actually already moving forward on this project. She's requested, and I believe she's gotten materials from Drum already ready for publication. The period of this will be June and July, just 2 months. But that's the period of their funding as well. Okay.
What about Drum? Go to Drum.
Let's go to Drum. Megan and I have been talking with them. Megan, correct me if I'm wrong, but we agree that we should extend their current contract as we had in the past without any major modifications, so that we don't need to bring it really to a vote other than the extension of it, unless someone has an objection.
How long an extension?
3 months.
Till the end of when?
So it would be June, July, August. So it would end actually middle of September. I believe it would start June the 15th.
So 3 months more.
3 months more. As Andy pointed out in our last meeting, these guys really come with great value, and they have been very easy to work with in terms of transitioning to this Our Town Together project. They've adopted it and adapted beautifully, so I think we need to keep them on board.
Yeah, I agree. Also, and I just want to say that they are, I mean, I almost think that the OTT is giving them kind of new life also. Yeah. Like, they seem pretty stoked about covering new people, and like, so I think seeing them be able to be that flexible is pretty cool.
Great.
Now, the one area that we do need to help them out with, and Karen, I'm enjoining your advice on this as well, is that we're getting nominations, and we're going to get many more nominations now that Monadnock Ledger is going to be promoting the program. They're looking for input from us as to who to cover and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. I don't feel entirely comfortable making that decision on my own, nor do I necessarily want to leave it in their hands, although they've done a great job of it so far. So
what are you recommending? What are you recommending as a process, Bill?
Well, I think we probably should just kind of vet some of these names between us and the marketing committee and anyone else. Maybe we should vet these with the whole board, and everyone can have a comment.
Well, I think if you open it up to everyone, you're gonna have a longer process, and we need to keep the pipeline moving, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, we're doing what, 2 posts a week of the Our Town Together project. So.
Well, so how did it happen that they chose Sharon Smith and So Clean? How did that happen?
Basically, it was just nominations that they fielded.
Because there are a number of others that have come forward. So maybe it's a I think it should be a marketing committee discussion.
Okay.
And then direction to Drum.
I'm asking you to join with the marketing committee in making those decisions.
I'm happy to do that.
Okay.
Yeah. And also, can I just put something out there? Is there any chance that we would ever want to engage the Facebook community in voting people, like select 3, or that is too much? I mean, that I just don't know. I don't know if
I don't think you want a popularity contest. Like, I just don't think you want to get into that. I think what we're looking for is a range of people and businesses and organizations that are representative of the community larger than the Facebook community. So I think it's, you're really looking for individuals and businesses and organizations, and maybe some of those outliers that we don't often, like, I loved that Sharon Smith was one of the first, because she's such an under the radar kind of person who does so much. She's not front and center. So I loved that choice. And I think So Clean was also a good choice. So I think it's like, we're really vetting based on, like, who do we often not hear about that also hasn't already been in the paper, hasn't already, so like, from my perspective, that's kind of what I'm looking for.
I
just think if other people from the group would like to be part of that process, we certainly could expand the marketing committee to include others, but I wouldn't bring it necessarily to full board and back. But is there anyone else maybe who wants to be part of it?
Well, I'm happy to actually make some suggestions to the committee, but we could ask any member who has a suggestion as to who might be pursued by the Ledger and Drum to contact Bill or Megan.
Right.
And make those suggestions, and that'd be a first step. It would not be engagement into the whole process. It would just suggestion.
Yeah, please do nominate.
Laura, you are a well-respected member of the community and you know a lot of people. I'm not necessarily suggesting that you necessarily nominate someone, but boy, I'd sure like to have your eyes on the nominees every once in a while.
Well, again, it's just suggestions. I got another connected to the whole process of new enterprises. I've got some ideas of people who are brand new, who I think are going to become so clean in the future. But
remember that this is really about people, organizations, and businesses that bring our town together. Right? That this is what we're looking for. This is not just to showcase new exciting or people we think are up and coming. This is really about who has stepped up, who brings that spirit, right? Who brings us together as a community. That's who we're looking for right now.
That's the art
for other things, but this is that.
That's the Our Town Together effort. But in addition to that, James, I might suggest that we're also continuing our outreach program in terms of the EDA vision. So highlighting a company like you're suggesting can fit in, but they're not part of that Our Town Together project, if you understand.
Okay.
I just want, Bill, just to thank you for your nice compliment. I jumped right on this and nominated 4 people right away. So I'll continue to think of folks and put those nominations in.
Great.
And I think, Jamie, even from Rivermead, if there are folks who are kind of unsung heroes that you're on your campus, it'd be wonderful to know about them. And Jerry, if you're hearing anything from the larger companies, if they're doing something we don't know about, it'd be really wonderful to showcase them. So think about, and Megan, you're in Depot Square, if there's something going on there, and I know Pelagia, I think Pelagia was on the call before. I don't know if she's still on, but if anyone I mean, this is the opportunity to say, hey, this is a person, this is a group. People might not know about them, but this is what they're doing.
And definitely feel free to send us if you've nominated and you're not seeing it, send it along and say, why haven't you covered this person? So, because I don't know a lot of people in town, so I'm coming at it from a different perspective, but
right.
We want feedback if we're not
move us along.
Okay.
We'll make recommendations, and so Bill and Megan stand by.
Did we vote to extend?
I want to go back to that. We need to vote for the 3-month expansion of Drum contract for the total cost of what?
1,700.
No, for Drum.
Oh, for Drum. Oh boy, I don't have their contract in front of me.
$1,200. It's $1,200 per month plus $150 for the boost on Facebook for ads. So it's a total of $1,350 per month times 3. So I'll give you that in a minute.
Ratio.
Okay. $4,050.
To approve that for 3 months.
Say it again. How much?
$4,050.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve that expenditure?
So moved.
A second?
I'll second it.
Second by Laura.
Okay.
Any comments or discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. So we've spent about $6,000 in the last few minutes, huh?
Yep.
Peanuts.
And we got 13,000 left. When is that? Well, that goes on forever. Yeah.
Doesn't go on forever, James.
Or does it? does it,
That was a one-time, that was a
One-time
one-time.
gift. It does not go on forever. One-time allocation. I will get
What?
you an update financial for the next meeting. All right.
yeah.
Yeah, we
Okay,
will.
moving on. Next agenda item.
Yeah.
Um,
Just briefly. So that's me. Reopening update.
yeah, reopening update, please.
Thank you. So briefly, just to say, under the governor's orders, we now have 14 different restaurants that are doing some form of outside seating. Another group that are just doing outside takeout, curbside. And every week we get applications for a few more. So as the businesses are seeing how things are going, they're feeling more comfortable opening. It's still very restrictive and it's still very much under that order. And so we're still following the process of approving the businesses as they apply and taking them through the process. So so that's the restaurants. Retailers are open and required to have their employees wearing masks and having, you know, having signs up and all of that.
Customers have to wear masks too.
Customers have to wear masks. Yeah, and we are hearing limited reports of folks not following the guidance, and in that case, Chief Walker and Chief Guinard have been out having conversations with owners about that.
Is it a mandate, excuse me, but on the subject, is it a mandate for customers to wear masks?
It is not a mandate.
Right.
It is not. It is requested. It is a strong suggestion. It is not a mandate, and the governor has not made it so.
Right.
Some towns have, Nashua did a local ordinance. It is being challenged in the courts right now. The Assistant Attorney General believes that the ordinance is legal, but it will be decided. Keene has, there's been a councilman who has put forward and withdrawn the move to do the same in Keene. There's some chatter on Facebook about Peterborough. I don't know where we haven't had a discussion as a select board, so that's where that is. Most people, if they're going into retail establishments, understand that wearing a mask is a good idea, and many of them are. Most are. And retailers are open as they have been. And that's basically it. So the reopen is still slow. Every week we wait to hear more from the governor. And I heard something about his perhaps lifting the stay-at-home order sometime in June, but the fact is that we still have about 100 cases a day positive in the state, and Hillsborough County is still pretty hard hit. So I don't, you know, we have been pretty lucky here, but the more you open, the more the risk rises. So you've got to kind of balance that out. So that's the update.
Okay.
I read recently that 82% of the COVID deaths in the state are in nursing homes and assisted living environments. So
yeah, that is true.
Well, I have to confess, I had dinner last night at the Waterhouse, and it was spectacular because they have a heater out there by the chairs outside. So we were getting heated, and it was a beautiful, beautiful day. So I can say that's open.
Nice to have the option.
Okay, moving on. The next agenda is the Small Business Roundtable. Karen.
Yeah, I wanted to I had an idea and I'm exploring it. So I just want to let you all know what is in the works. So I've recently been appointed to the board of the Greater Peterborough Chamber of Commerce, and I'm in discussions with that board and the Keene board, Chamber of Commerce. As you might know, the Peterborough Chamber doesn't have any paid staff right now. It's all volunteer. The Keene Chamber of Commerce is pretty strong. And they've been doing a lot of online support for their business community. And so I had this question in my brain about, well, what are we doing for our business community that is of support? And so my first thought was maybe some kind of business roundtable online. But this morning I had an interchange with Jinx Levy, who is the volunteer executive director, the unpaid executive director of the Greater Peterborough Chamber. And she informed me that she's been in touch with the state Business and Economic Affairs Office, and they are coordinating with all of the state chambers to provide online Zoom meetings or webinars for the business community during COVID about all of the different programs that are available. And that's going to be forthcoming. But that also, she's interested in working with me and vis-a-vis the EDA as well to figure out how do we make sure that we're also serving our business community in all the ways that we can. So, so I don't have a fully formed idea for you, just to say that I'm interested to hear what you might think about that, but that's kind of something that's in development, and I want to bring it back to you to give you more information. But what do you think of that idea?
Is Jerry on here at all, or is he?
He is.
I'm on there. I'm on there.
Jerry, it'd be interesting in what you would have to say about that.
I think it's a very good idea. As you know, we've done the same for the large employers, and the small ones could probably benefit well from getting together, even though it's online, and discussing their issues and so forth, saying where they need, how they need help, and the like.
Right.
We started that process with the small businesses. I was leading that effort and had to drop it essentially because all businesses were closed at this point. So I'm certainly more than willing to cross-share the findings that we have and then also participate in that process if you'd like.
Great. Yeah, I thought the coordination with the chamber would be important because they have access to the list of businesses that we don't have.
Right.
And as I thought about how would I reach out to all the businesses, all the small business owners, all the entrepreneurs, how would we find them? You know, I didn't have a way to do that, but the chamber does.
Yeah, it's good to hear that the chamber is finally coming back together again. That at the time when we started our efforts through the EDA, the chamber was in quite disarray. So,
yep, it's where it is pretty solid in that it's kind of cleaned up some stuff that needed to be cleaned up, and now it is being run by volunteers, but they actually also recognize that can't be sustainable. So there's some plans in the works, but right now Jinx is there and she's willing, she and I are working together to figure out how do we do this more broadly in our town.
I think you'll get a lot of participation too if it's on Zoom. Sometimes just physically getting to the meeting can be barriers.
Now, will this be limited to chamber members or is it broad?
No.
Good.
No, because out of my office, it's for the full business community.
Okay.
And is there anything that you want the EDA to be doing that you, what's
Not yet. Not yet, James. I just really wanted to be aware of it. I wanted you guys to know that I'm working on it and just hear what you thought about it.
Okay. Well, again, connecting up with things like the Our Town networking group, which you spoke to the other day, you know, that kind of connection, I think is really very valuable.
Great.
Yeah, I think sharing anything that you decide, because I'm on a women business owners network as well. So anything that you decide to set up, either a Zoom call or anything, we can just forward on to those contacts.
Great.
So.
Okay.
Okay, can we then quickly close with the affordable housing? Is Andy on?
No.
And I wanted to hear from Andy because he has a good understanding of the current housing situation from a realtor's point of view.
Yeah.
Karen, any headlines that you give on the affordable housing?
Well, James, what I can tell you is that there is a regional collaborative out of Southwest Region Planning Commission right now that is doing these housing roundtables that you may have gotten an invitation to, because there were a number of us who had attended an event in Keene back in the winter on this topic. And so there's a regional group that is meeting by Zoom to continue to have this broader conversation on regional housing. That much I can tell you. Not much more than that at this point.
Well, can you tie me into that Zoom? Because I would like to.
Sure. Yeah, I'll send you the.
I don't know about that one.
Yep.
But one thing that's come up in one of those attachments you've given to the task force is an important piece of data is just what is the status of the affordable housing in your region, and what's the need for it, and you know, how clear is that to the community? Where do we stand on just that one basic fact?
Well, I don't know, James. I mean, there's not been a lot of movement, as you know, because you're part of the task force. We've only met once per month, and we're not able to do a lot more than what we're doing given COVID. So what I think, of course, it is important, and of course, it is something that isn't going away. We're going to have to deal with. But I think right now, because we've had to hit the pause on so many things, it's just not
okay.
Even for contractors to be. And Danica can probably speak to this. I don't know how many projects are in the planning office right now.
Well, the Southwest COM that you mentioned is very relevant to that question.
Sure.
You know, what is the housing situation in our region?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and again, I want to hear from Andy on that at our next meeting. So I will continue to pursue that with him.
Maybe you can reach out to him. Yeah. Okay.
Any other comments about housing as we end?
So we should talk about next meeting date.
Next meeting date.
So when I look 4 weeks out, it puts us at Monday, July 6th, but I would believe that that's part of the holiday weekend. But who knows if we'll be out and about. So I don't know if that's a good date or if we should choose another.
Let's just, what was that date again?
Monday, July 6th.
Can we do the Monday before? July 5th, July 5th is the date. July 6th is the date Karen's talking about. But
yeah. So Monday, July 6th is the first Monday of the month, which is what we have landed on.
I don't show that as any kind of holiday.
July 4th is the holiday, so I don't know if that is.
Oh, July 4th, yeah.
Is it Friday or Monday? I don't know. That's a good question.
Well, the 4th is Saturday.
Well,
would you want to just do the week before just for safety?
Yeah, maybe the 29th.
I do that.
Is that good for everyone?
Yeah.
11 a.m.?
Yeah.
Perfect.
11 a.m. on the 29th.
Yep.
Okay. Anybody have a problem with that?
Works.
Okay.
We'll plan on that. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
And again, Laura.
Yes, James.
Laura.
James?
Are you still here, Laura?
I am. I'm here.
No, the other Laura. Laura Norton.
Danica?
She is, but she's muted.
Oh.
Well, she's been taking our minutes, and I just wanted to thank her for coming on, but I'm not sure she's still there.
She's on the screen.
Well, a blank screen, yeah.
All right.
Well, thank you, the other Laura, if you are here, and thank you everybody else for being here.
See y'all.
Thanks, guys.
And
Thank
Karen,
you.
thanks for all you do.
Bye.
Thanks for everything.
Thank you.
All
Thank
the
you.
best. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.